Hello, Milava. Dini subject Torah basic English pattern to Kushide. Senate to do what practice Lojaya. Gami Pajawale is interested to for infinitive to bar. Is interested to interesting to for infinitive to bar. Same Zabo Gami. Same Zabo Gamare. A Jamiak to bar. It's interesting to dance. It's interesting to dance. Interesting to dance. Gara sings about Gamare. It's interesting to sing. It's interesting to sing. The Chinsura sings about Gamar. It's interesting to cook. It's interesting to cook. Chapilda sings about Gamar. It's interesting to drive a car. To drive a car. Gamabua sings about Gamar. It's interesting to dance. Gara sings about Gamare. It's interesting to sing. The Chinsura sings about Gamare. It's interesting to cook. Chapdura sings about Gamare. It's interesting to drive a car. Gamabo sings about Gamona sings about Gamare. It's interesting to read. Sapara sings about Gamare. It's interesting to learn. Teyuna sings about Gamare. It's interesting to swim. Shigura sings about Gamare. It's interesting to travel. Hidora sings about Gamare. It's interesting to study. Lilara sings about Gamare. It's interesting to sell. Seyana sings about Gamare. It's interesting to garden. Wheat and Loda sings about Gamare. It's interesting to paint. Pajiswera sings about Gamare. It's interesting to write. Sayida sings about Gamare. It's interesting to teach. Sa Tiara, Tempiara sings about Gamare. Gami sent him to the Gua, not the cup. Then we practice Lodaya. It's interesting to dance. Gara sings about Gane. It's interesting to sing. The Chinsura sings about Gane. It's interesting to cook. Chapter sings about Gane. It's interesting to drive a car. Gamona sings about Gane. It's interesting to visit. Lebayara sings about Gane. It's interesting to buy. Wayara sings about Gane. It's interesting to play. Kasara sings about Gane. It's interesting to draw. Boswera sings about Gane. It's interesting to read. Sapara sings about Gane. It's interesting to learn. Teyuyara sings about Gane. It's interesting to swim. Higura sings about Gane. It's interesting to travel. Kidwara sings about Gane. It's interesting to study. Lilayara sings about Gane. It's interesting to sell. Seyana sings about Gane. It's interesting to gather. Wheat and Loda sings about Gane. It's interesting to pick. Pajiswera sings about Gane. It's interesting to write. Sayida sings about Gane. It's interesting to teach. Tempiara sings about Gane. Okay, practice လုပ်ပါကြိုးစားပါအမငယ်ပါနဲ့ self subscribe လုပ်ဖို့လည်းမမေ့ပါနဲ့ see you next time bye bye